All right, everyone, we're going to call the meeting to order. I would ask at this time if there are any additions to the agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Second. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Okay, and we do have a gallery presentation this evening, and Karen Hood McKinnon has got a posse with her. So are you going to, whoever?
I'm going to present and they're going to chime in if I mess it up.
Oh, so Karen, please come up and welcome to the Port Hawkesbury very first meeting of 2025.
Yeah.
And we're really looking forward to hearing your presentation.
And I don't plan to take a ton of time, just cover kind of the basics of where we're at in terms of the Tamarack Education Playground and sort of the background and history. Where should I stand? Is better for you? There?
You can wherever you like. You can roam around, whatever.
This is good. I didn't know this was the spot, but
No, that's okay.
Okay. So back here, do you guys want to introduce yourselves by name?
My name is Ashley Lovett, Anna Dialoff, and Yodi Lovett, Fairly Wood.
So they sit on the Tamarack Education Center Playground Committee.
Okay.
And I just want to say before I start, none of us, well, I shouldn't say none of us work for it. They volunteer on this committee. So a couple of them do work for the SRCE. But they come to this work as a volunteer, and I do not work for SRCE, so I cannot speak about the playground from that perspective.
Sure.
I'm only talking about the playground from the perspective of the committee, which is primarily moms, I would say. Yeah, largely moms that are very passionate about getting a playground at Tech. So if you haven't seen the Tamarack playground lately, this is what it looks like.
It's a sad story.
It's gotten pretty sad. So there used to be some large wooden kind of structures there with some bars on it. And then in around 2020-ish, into 2021, it was there during the pandemic for part of it, because I remember going there to like get my daughter out of the house. So I've been at one point during the pandemic, one day people just came and said it was unsafe and took it down. Essentially is what happened. So it's been like that since 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So yeah, the school playground equipment was removed. There wasn't really any immediate plan that we were told of for it to be replaced. And as you can see from the photo, minimal equipment remains. And at that time, a committee of parents was formed, and we were given about $5,000 to basically get another playground. And playgrounds these days can range from, oh, sorry, I'm flipping this by accident. You could spend $100 grand and you could spend $1 million. Like there's a wide range. But basically any kind of significant equipment in that space, we're guessing really to start would be about 150, and then it goes up from there. Okay. And I just want to say that on top of the loss of the Tech playground have been the loss of 2 other play spaces in Tamarack from town property. So I'm a lifelong Port Hawkesbury resident. I lived in Ontario for a little bit, but primarily I've lived in Port Hawkesbury my whole life. And we used to have 2 other play spaces in Tamarack, one in the Elks Court spot with the play with swings. And then there was always one on Tamarack Drive, sort of in behind Hemlock. Sorry, I keep hitting this. Okay. And so really in that neighborhood, there isn't really any good play space at this point. The reality is that if you have a kid in Tamarack, you're not telling them to hike it to the community park. Like for safety reasons, you're telling them to stay within the neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. Now, certainly there isn't the same child population there, but there isn't the same child population anywhere. So also I would say about the Tech space, it is used outside of school hours. And it's very well connected to the trails. So if you're going through the trails and you hit that playground, that's what you're gonna get. Community use has consisted of play by kids' families who live in the subdivision. Minor, I'm not even touching it and jumping. It's down here. It's like seriously down there. So minor soccer, Canadian Cancer Society, Tampa Hawkesbury do events like annual track and field. So it is used for community use outside of school hours. And so there's a small number of parent volunteers, like anything, it is really hard to get volunteers out. So I'm the chair, Anna Vieloff is the co-chair. Shauna Luciano couldn't be here today, but she does a lot of our communications advocacy. And we have support from the administrative staff and teachers at Tech. And basically we have two main roles. One is fundraising and two is advocacy. I would say that on this issue, it's just really unfair and inequitable that other like playgrounds at other schools and other communities in Nova Scotia have better access than we do, especially in a school where there are a lot of kids there that have a lot of struggles. And so they should have the same access to a playground at their school that any other school does in the province of Nova Scotia. And that's probably why I'm so passionate about it. So the things we've done, and I'll talk more about the advocacy front and the funding in a minute, but the things that we've done as a committee, we've done popcorn sales, we've done 2 road races as part of the Festival Straight. We've done a trivia night, yard sale, 50-50 draw last spring. We've done 50-50 draws at both Christmas concerts, silent auctions. We've done official letters and requests to small to local businesses, and we've done numerous grant applications. I would say on the small to large business front, we've had good support from the business community who have stepped up, despite the fact that they, you know, don't necessarily have to be doing that, but they are because they believe that kids should have a playground at their school. So we've approached big businesses like Everwind and Roxbury Paper to like the Fleur de Lis and Hearts Connection. And I would say like 99% of the time business have given us some form of donation. So we feel like we've kind of tapped that out as like as much as we can, you know, to tap it out. We've also looked at numerous grant applications, and I would say there's not a lot that we actually qualify for. This is a real issue. So for a lot of things like the Community Health Board grant, as an example, says you cannot apply for equipment. Right, like it has to be a program. So if I want to do a cooking program in the school, I could get funding, but I can't get funding for actual equipment, playground equipment. That's just one example. There's numerous grants where we just don't meet the criteria at all. Like I'm pretty good at grant writing. I'll try to twist it best I can. But it's like when the criteria says schools cannot apply or we don't support playground equipment, there's nothing we can do about that. So although people think there's all these grants, we just haven't been able, we've searched high and low, and I would say that we've applied to the Canada Post Foundation a couple of times and we haven't been successful. They have like $1 million to give out and they get $24 million in asks. So it's very highly competitive. So advocacy. We've done a ton of advocacy, and that's probably one of the, we're very passionate. And I would say we've really communicated the importance of playgrounds in terms of children's mental health, physical activity levels. We've pointed out the disparities I talked about between schools. And we do believe ultimately that schools should be funded through the capital budgets of the Department of Education. But that's not what the situation is, and we need a playground for our kids. So we soldier on. But I would say, so in our direct communication with our MLA, which was Alan McMaster, we have brought that up a lot. So, you know, we need a playground, it should be equitable access, and we really feel we're not just advocating for Tech Playground, we're advocating for all the playgrounds that are needed in the province of Nova Scotia. We're not the only school that needs a playground. So it's not just about Tech. I mean, it is for us, but I would like this problem to be solved ultimately long-term through funding through the Department of Education. So we have communicated that message. But we are where we are, and we'll see what happens with that. Other things we've done, we've provided information and feedback to the province of Nova Scotia, like their budget process, and we've heard back from the Department of Education and the minister. So we've done that as well. And we've also done a lot of community information via Facebook and newspaper. So we've been strongly encouraged by our MLA, who was our MLA. So we have to sort of reintroduce ourselves to the new person, but Alan McMaster, to apply for the Recreation Facilities Grant. And I'll talk about that in a second. These are just some of the news articles about some things we've done. So parents take charge to fundraise for new playground equipment for the Inverness Lorien. This is from the Reporter. We did a large bingo fundraiser last year, and we did another one this year. That has given us a significant amount of funds. So I just want to say, to wrap up, that we want to build the playground in stages. So we've kind of come to an agreement, I guess, that, you know, we're never going to be able to say, here's $500,000 and go build a beautiful playground. We're trying to build the playground a piece at a time. And we have raised approximately about $45,000, which has been is significant. And it's only because of these moms sitting here and all the moms. And I would say strong support from the school administration to make things happen and get this done. We are launching a GoFundMe for people who have expressed desire to support that either haven't been able to be at our events or live away and would like to support the kids. So we will be launching that soon. We're having a benefit concert on April 5th at Sarah Auditorium. Dara Smith McDonald, who's the VP at Tech, is leading that because she is a musician. And like I said, we've been encouraged by the MLA to apply for the Recreation Facilities Grant, and it's due February 14th. And we are going to proceed with that grant because we need to provide 1/3 of the funds, and the grant provides 2/3 of the funds. So we're looking at pieces of equipment between $150,000 to $210,000, where we have a couple of options that we have costed out, depending on, you know, how many more funds we can add to our pot before February 14th. But we are trying to build up that pot of funds as rapidly as possible before that date, so that we can apply for, you know, the piece of equipment ultimately that we want. And then we would hope we would raise more funds next year and maybe in 2 years apply again for an additional piece. So that's kind of our plan. And just all we're at, like, what we're asking for from the town is really a letter of support for the grant to confirm the space is used by the community and valued by the town of Port Hawkesbury. We would always take a monetary donation, but that's, you know, completely up to you. We really do need a letter of support, and a monetary donation would be appreciated, but really a positive discussion and advocacy from you about the project when speaking with provincial representatives and community members would also be greatly appreciated. So that's it.
So first and foremost, on behalf of council, I want to congratulate the group for making it to the 45K. That's not an easy thing to do, and it's not a unit, it's volunteers. Thank you for your energy and enthusiasm to get a new park in Tech. I think it's very admirable. And I would open up the floor if there are any questions from council. That's my heart to start.
No, once again, just commendable. I didn't realize that all this work and the funds that you have raised already was so significant. So congratulations on that. And I'll definitely be an advocate for Tech Playground, for sure. Lots of positivity, and I'd like to see it grow.
Thanks. That's it there.
Yeah, definitely something I would support, you know, just with our youth and exercise and getting out and both physical and mental. It's an important, yeah.
I would say the space looks pretty deplorable right now, and you wouldn't believe the kids get sent to the office for throwing.
But that's the only thing they have.
Please don't put that in the media.
No, what a problem. Just scratch that last comment, Jake, and
Sorry, go ahead.
It's, the playground is being used by 200 to 300 children
Oh.
on recess and lunch every single day at school. And there is really nothing for them to use, and there's a lot of obstacles, I think that.
A lot of
some
kids in the office.
The TAs there that some of the DBM guy, we can probably say that.
Well, they're bored, so they take rocks and they take, and, you know, they try to throw things over the fence and come up with, you know, ways to be kids and have fun, but there's just, because there's just not enough. Like, there's like 3 swings and 300 kids and 1 slide, and that's it.
It must be like a swing raffle every day.
We have to say that they run, and then there's a lineup. It's like my turn, and they have to get them off.
Love.
So, yeah.
And the pieces of equipment that are there are not like really the best. Like,
Things gonna fall down in the end.
And really only for sheer determination.
Held together with duct tape. and
Oh, yeah,
scissors.
yeah.
Yeah, sheer determination has really drove the effort, like it's just a relentless, like Alan McMaster must be tired of taking phone calls. So we've done as many asks as we can.
Oh, that's great. So we'll go to Councillor McCrory and then Deputy Mayor Leahy.
Yeah, thanks very much for the presentation. Very impressive to see what your committee has accomplished and the mayor said, you know, to have 45,000, it's not where you need to be, but that's pretty significant that your committee's been able to fundraise that. The outset or near the outset, you mentioned about having sort of had a $5,000 sort of seed money.
Yeah,
Where did that come from?
that came from the SRC.
It came from the school.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
we
one
just-
time, that was a one.
That was a one-time donation and we just got, from the school advisory committee at the school, they
Yep.
just approved a $10,000 donation. So that was added and that made it, brought us to 45.
Oh, okay.
But that was like the school advisory committee, sort of is a committee of parents that oversees those funds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say the current principal, who's Mr. Glenn Austin, and the former principal are very supportive. Have been very supportive, like want the playgrounds, you know, as badly as we want the playground. We love to be doing other things, like we have tons of other things we could be working, like I.
You get to be problem solving something else for sure.
Yeah.
And Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you for the presentation and I'd just like to ask a couple more questions, like just from my own knowledge and see how we can better support, right? How long did it take you to get to you guys got about 30 and then 10 and 5 got you to 45. How long did it take to cobble all that together?
What, it started in like 2021.
21.
We probably really, it's
So,
last fall, since when we had that toy bingo,
Mhm.
that's when we got, definitely in a year, we've really started getting more.
Steaming.
It's almost like when we did that bingo, it created a lot of,
and where my head's going with that is
Yeah.
that school goes to grade 8 and then kids go on and do you have children still in that school?
I have one who's finishing there this year,
So I mean, this is the,
and that's it. My kids are, one will be off to NCC and one will be at Sarah.
you gotta see an end to this.
yeah, my daughter's in grade 6. I'm not doing this for her anymore. Like, I'm doing it for other
And I'm
kids.
not asking, yeah, and I'm not asking that to be discouraging. I'm trying to encourage and get where you need to go. You mentioned the ability to apply for funding and not being an entity. Who holds the money? Are you as your own entity? Do you have a joint registry of stocks? Who holds the money?
The school holds the money in an account. We can check like the balances and what's going in and out, but we don't have our own, like, we're not a non-for-profit. Yeah.
Like the swim
We
team?
thought about that. That was an option that
Yeah.
we thought about at the very beginning.
Because you're president of the swim team, correct?
Yes, yeah,
And that's a nonprofit.
yeah,
And they can apply for funding for equipment.
yeah.
It's-
We didn't get the sense that the SRC really wanted us to do that.
But they want you to pay for the equipment to put.
Yeah, there's not a good say about that, but I won't.
No, and that's not helping.
We're not gonna get you in trouble tonight, dear.
No, read between the lines.
Yeah,
That has been, in the beginning, that was one thing that we kind of really wanted was to, because other schools in some cases do have like their own non-for-profit, and Tech did at one time. But, anyway, we had to move on, and so we were just like, we're getting this done, and we just moved past that issue. Although the biggest stumbling block in most of the grants does seem to be that we want playground equipment, and they want us to do like PC, this is another charity, PC, it's children's charity, so you think they'd fund a playground? No. That's another example, like if I wanted to do a food program at the school and buy lots of groceries, they would give me a grant, but they won't fund a playground.
Okay. Well, no, I just applaud your efforts, keep going, and you're asking for a letter of support,
Yeah,
and you're asking for a little bit of money and positive advocacy discussion, yeah, what we can do.
because I do think, like,
something.
it's a school playground, I get that 100% is not, you know, it's definitely more the responsibility of the SRCE, like education department, but growing up in Tamarack as a kid, I will say that we always use those play spaces in that subdivision, because you're not, like I said, we weren't gonna drive down to the community park or wherever else. And there has been a loss of that in that neighborhood, so it is also a municipal issue, as well.
I'll say as a parent of children that go to school, thank you for your efforts, because they'll benefit, my children will benefit, and all the students, so thank you, you're doing great work.
Thanks.
So I guess before, I don't know, I feel like we're gonna lose 2/3 of the room when you guys leave. No, I keep you guys here a little longer.
I just have a question here, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
What about, Canadian Tire always supports a startup program? Did you contact them for,
They've definitely been supportive, and they've given us like prizes and stuff, but they don't really, and again, like they'll more support, like if we had kids that need to join a sport,
okay,
but they don't really have a specific grant. I mean, they didn't the last time I checked, like I've been really like the dog after a bone with these grants. So I can't say 100%, maybe like in the last year they could have changed. But the last time I checked, it was like more or less. If I had kids that I want to put in hockey, for example,
Right.
as opposed to. But I will say, like, I do have to say that we wouldn't have raised the funds we did without the local businesses that have stepped up, in spite of the fact that they don't need to be doing that.
right.
I really have to applaud like the community and how much people believe in the project and are trying to support the kids. Because like we get checks, like Frida will call and say, somebody sent a $500 check that I didn't even ask them. You
That's
know,
amazing.
so,
So tonight, so in terms of a monetary donation, we will definitely add that to our budget deliberations. So we'll probably be starting January, the end of January, maybe for sometime in early February. It may not get added to the pot where you're determining the leveraging, your leveraging capacity, but we're able to give something, you know, so to throw it in the mix. But we can, if council is prepared to make a motion for the letter of support, we can certainly do that if someone's willing to make that motion.
Make that motion.
Okay, so Councilor McQuarrie, do we have
I'd
second?
second that.
Okay, seconded by the deputy mayor. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? So we will get that to you in
Okay.
short order to make sure you have that for your application process. And we're absolutely happy to figure out ways to advocate on behalf of the project. And if you have any little hints or so-and-so's going to be here to Clockburn to go or whatever.
here's an issue
Let me
that you
know.
really should pay attention
You,
to.
you know how to get a hold of us, and if I can't physically be there, I've got a great deputy mayor can send. If there is an opportunity to talk to MLAs and MPs, et cetera, we're happy to advocate on. You know,
Thank you so much. That's just really good to collaborate. Like, it's,
Absolutely.
you know, there's lots of kids from this town that go to that school.
100%.
Yeah.
Mayor, if you know, I just want to kind of echo what you said there. It's not just a school playground, it's a community playground.
Right, yeah.
Very much so, and so I think there's reason for us to be seriously looking at that in terms of our budget discussions and whatnot, but certainly for advocacy around seeing it, it's gotta be very frustrating.
It
You
is,
see 200-300 students out and
Yeah.
they don't really have anything to.
it's kids, like, come on, like, it's not a hard sell. It's kids and up there. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, and those kids, I get passionate, I get emotional about it, but they deserve the same thing
Me too.
that every other kid deserves in this province, and it's very unfair and inequitable. Sorry.
No, you don't apologize,
Yeah.
right?
Good job,
Like, we need to celebrate that equity and lifting that up so that all kids have that
Yeah.
same opportunity.
Yeah, and Tara Lee said there might be funds somewhere.
Tara Lee, she's like,
Just have to put the money in the co-chair's ear and then perhaps revisit the town council and say, hey,
I feel like the money doesn't exist if Karen and Tara Lee cannot find it. Anyway,
Alright.
thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
and
and
if you need to
presenting.
come again or any other time.
Absolutely, and reach out again if there is an advocacy opportunity that you need.
I hope I didn't take up too much time and try to go.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
thank you.
And feel free to stay. I mean, this is very, interesting stuff. Not as interesting as a playground.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. So for acknowledgements, I just want to acknowledge Happy New Year, everyone, and open it up to see if anybody else has any acknowledgements they'd like to make for this month's meeting. So we'll move on to agenda item 6, which is the approval of our council minutes for the public meeting of December 10th, 2024. I would ask if there are any errors or omissions for those sets of minutes. And I did just make one slight correction already with Melissa this morning. Just she has to add past to president Vanessa Beth. Outgoing past president, then we may be doing a past president position for another. Any other errors or omissions? Okay. So we'll move on to business arising. And just to let you know, the committee of the whole report I submitted to Melissa, so she'll circulate that to all of you the next day or two, if she hasn't already. Any other business arising from the minutes?
Your worship, just, under item number 11. And under the deputy mayor's, report,
Yes.
you're there, the last line. Says Mayor Brenda Chisenbeek asked if council would agree to submit feedback on behalf of the town of Hawkesbury on why the committee should take the Strait of Canso into consideration. Was that around, like, I thought part of the conversation was around the governance issue and stuff for Strait of Canso. Was that part of?
Oh,
First of all, Master, through you to Councilor McCory. This is with respect to the regional assessment letter, which you were given a copy of
Yep.
to read and all council and
Yep.
approve before sending. And this is with respect to the Strait of Canso not being in the regional assessment to the full extent that it could have. In short. Now, that was a 13-page response that we gave.
Great.
It's in your email.
Yep.
You can read that again,
Yep.
or I can resend it to you.
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify just
Yes,
exactly what
yeah.
that meant. So,
That's exactly what that
yeah,
meant, as I did
sweet.
correct.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Follow-up questions?
Nope.
Okay, any other business arising from the minutes? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is council committee reports, and I'll hand things over to Terry.
Yes, your worship. So the December's meeting was a joint committee of whole and public meeting, so there's no specific motions coming. Motions that came forward through items at that meeting were addressed at that meeting.
Okay.
So there's no report from committee of whole.
So the meeting minutes were circulated. I would ask if there are any errors or omissions in that set of committee of the whole minutes. If there are no corrections, I would ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Did we have, were those circulated?
Well, they're part of, never mind. They're already part of the,
That's my, so I should have picked that up. So
That's
that was-
okay.
It was one meeting.
Yeah,
There was no
we already
individual
called for
committee of whole.
errors or
The
Right.
Committee of whole items were added to a public meeting.
Right.
It was a collaborative meeting with the community, so we don't actually, we already have that approved.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't have any motions from in camera. There is one piece of correspondence from Minister John Lohr acknowledging that all of the municipalities were able to pass by resolution the code of conduct. And that's for information for council. We have no proclamations or resolutions. Oh, sorry, was there any questions on the letter? It was pretty straightforward. Okay, so no proclamations or resolutions, so we'll go to other business. So Terry will review our council expenses for information.
Yes, Your Worship, the mayor, councilors and CAOs expense report has been included in your package for review and is posted on the website and is brought forward here for public view as well.
Perfect.
Total expenses were $2,000 for the through
Looks
the
like
month
we
of December.
signed up for the same. For the same thing. Okay, so we'll move on to strategic plans. Back over to you, Terry.
Yes, Your Worship. So we have just brought this forward. So we now have a meeting set for this Thursday at 3:30 on a working. It's a working meeting to talk about strategic planning. So we have a draft strategic plan from our planning session in December. I guess the hope that we have is to look at this draft and to set our goals from the draft, or to do any kind of amendments that we would have with that. As we had discussed before, those goals are going to drive our committee, the makeup of our committees, or what committees will be struck by your council. So hope is that we can move that forward as well. So look at goals, look at committees coming from the goals, and then we'll be able to advertise for membership from the public for those meetings, and also indicate any other changes that you see right away from the draft. The idea is that we will work specifically on, if it's your wish. But if we work specifically on the goals, committees coming from those goals, then we'll bring the Cape Breton Wren partnership folks back, and we'll work through the document itself and in formalizing it.
Any questions for Terry? Everybody has the meeting date for Thursday in your calendars. Perfect. We'll move on to the fourth item under other business, which is bylaw enforcement. Bylaw review meeting priorities. Third item.
Just very quickly. So again, we've set up a meeting for bylaw, for bylaw review, meeting on priorities and a process that you want to determine for going through the bylaws. We'll be looking for, I know there's been a number that have been raised by councillors and been patiently waiting for an opportunity to bring those forward for review. I know there's discussion on vending bylaw, there's discussion on dog bylaw, and there may be others as well. There was a fairly extensive review of bylaws in 2018, and then some action taken by council in 2019. So I'll be sending that out to you prior to, or Melissa will be sending that information out to you prior to that. And then maybe from staff's perspective, what we see as priorities. But if you could review that and bring forward priorities for bylaw review at that meeting, that would be very helpful.
Any questions for Terry on that item?
And that's the 15th, is it?
Yeah,
Or is it next week?
it's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Not this Wednesday, not tomorrow.
Be some great weekend reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions of Terry? Okay, we'll move on then. The bylaw enforcement. The reason why I added that this evening was just to kind of start a conversation around by law enforcement. I know we probably all heard that at doors in terms of having bylaws that are enforceable and we do, and I guess Terry can talk a little bit about some of the bylaws that we do enforce in different ways. However, as we move forward with budget discussions, et cetera, I would ask that staff, maybe we can add bylaw enforcement to our committee of the whole, so that we can review what are we currently doing with some of our bylaws in terms of like how are we enforcing those. Some of them perhaps we are working with the RCMP on. Some of them we're using our own staff to be able to do some of that work. And then what are some of the gaps? Like what are some of the gaps in terms of our bylaw enforcement that we do need to rectify? And what are those options and what do they potentially look like? So just to start the conversation tonight, and that we will continue to move that along so that, you know, we do have some options to consider when we do our budget deliberations this spring. So if there is some investment that it's needed in one or more of those options, that we will know what we're dealing with. And just to open up the floor for, I guess, any discussion on that. Councilor Barrett?
Well, I just really think, yeah, it's an important discussion, you know, enforcing the bylaw, because what is the deterrent unless it's being enforced, you know, and so I think moving forward, that's important.
You're 100% right. I heard there was some bylaw that we were on license. And there was one guy said, I don't have a license, they're not making me get one, don't pay for it.
Hmm.
And if that's what we're getting to, then we really gotta, as Councilor Barrett said, tighten that up.
That's hard.
I'm just looking forward to learning more about the bylaws and moving forward with the reviews and seeing what's most effective and what's important for us to follow up on.
Yeah, some things that we're doing, you know, maybe working well, and some aren't, and some aren't happening at all. So it'd be good to kind of understand what are we doing now and what do we need to do, and what are some options on doing it better. Councilor Corey?
The only thing I would say, Mayor, is this is a good direction for us to be going in because it is something that comes up at the door in the election time. But besides that, people will bring it up. And appreciate the work that their CAO does around administering certain bylaws, the assistance we've had with the RCMP around winter parking as well.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe there's some way we could do something collaboratively as well going forward. So that's all I would like to say. Just I think that's a good direction that we should be moving forward.
So we'll just start the conversation tonight and keep moving it along, and
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll have some really good sustainable opportunities to look at during our budget. And you know, when that budget basically is going to be solidifying the roadmap for the next year, so it'd be good to make sure that we have as much information at our disposal to set ourselves up for the best success possible. Okay, so we don't have approved additions. Future meetings, we have a committee of the whole, January 21st, 2025. I got to get used to saying that. And our next public meeting, as always, the first Tuesday of the month, February 4th, 2025. And I guess Mr. McLaughlin's our only member of the gallery, so do you have any questions you'd like to ask for a public question period? I can't not point you out.
Well, that's fine. Thank you for
No problem.
the question.
Going once, going twice. That's okay. So I would ask for a motion of adjournment. Okay, Councilor Barrett, Secretary.
I'll second that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Langley. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for your time.